I think it's the biggest scam of all time.
Ew.
The biggest scam of all time, ever.
Of human history.
Of human history, yes.
Wow.
There's never been a $1 trillion scam. My guess is that probably saves $100 billion a year.
Jesus Christ. Where
Like-
was that money going?
So this is where you get into the sort of gray boundary between waste and fraud. If money is sent to a person or organization from the government, and you didn't really deserve it, but the government still sent it to you, is that waste or fraud?
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of payments that where someone just approved the payment, but then that payment officer changed jobs or retired or died. It's like if you forget to pay your gym membership or something like that.
Right.
Now imagine it's not the gym membership. You said your gym membership's $20 billion a year or something, you know. But they forgot to turn it off. I think it's the biggest scam of all time.
Ew.
The biggest scam of all time, ever.
Of human history.
Of human history, yes.
Wow.
There's never been a $1 trillion scam. How do people in, Congress or whatever become wealthy over time?
Extremely wealthy.
Yes.
On a $170,000 a year salary.
It's like literally impossible.
Yeah. No one else does that.
It's literally impossible.
If you
So-
found out that this guy has a $170,000 a year job, you're like, oh, he's doing okay. He's all right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, why does he have $50 million?
Yes.
What is he doing?
For illegal aliens. The agency that was paying for illegal aliens to stay at luxury hotels in New York was FEMA. That's an agency that's meant to support Americans in distress from natural disasters, was paying for luxury hotels for illegals in New York. They're literally, like, when we stopped that payment, we stopped all those money, because that's obviously an insane way to spend taxpayer money. New York sued the government, sued the federal government to get the money. You can just look at their lawsuit. They were sending that money even after President Trump signed an executive order saying it needs to stop. They still press send on $80 million to luxury hotels in New York. Your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
And I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
The agency that was paying was a case where we saw one person was getting $1.9 billion sent to their NGO, which basically got formed about a year ago and had no prior, no prior activity. So they just stand up an NGO. The whole NGO thing is a nightmare, and it's a misnomer, because if you have a government-funded non-governmental organization, you're simply a government-funded organization. It's an oxymoron.
Right. It's a loophole.
Yes, it basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to, people cash out these nonprofits. They become very wealthy through nonprofits. They pay themselves enormous sums through these nonprofits.
It's so insane that that's been going on for so long.
It's a gigantic scam. Stuff that they lose in the couch cushions is like $20-30 billion a year. They just don't know where it went. It's gone.
36 trillion debt is unsustainable. If we don't get that under control, this will be the United States of China. China West.
What it looks like is that most of the fraud is not coming from Social Security payments directly, but because they're marked as alive in the Social Security database, that they can get disability, unemployment, sort of fake medical payments and other things, because they're marked as alive in the Social Security database. So it looks like it's a bank. The fraud is a bank shot, essentially. They bank shot into Social Security. They just do an "Are you alive?" check, and then get fraudulent payments from every other part of the government.
Oh.
And this exploits the fundamental weakness in the government is that the various government databases, they don't talk to each other. They talk to each other very poorly, in a very limited way. So the way that the system gets exploited is by taking advantage of the poor communication between the various databases in the government.
Doge has uncovered the biggest money laundering scheme in the history of this country. trillion-dollar money laundering scheme. Those that are hollering the loudest are the guilty parties. Those that are yelling the most slander want it to stop so they don't get caught.